Hello, in this video I'll be showing you the basics to editing a photo in Photoshop from the very start to the very end. And if you're a beginner, this is the best tutorial for you that you are going to be benefiting from at the end of it. So simply like this video and don't forget to subscribe. So in order to edit any image in Photoshop, the very first thing is going to be importing that photo in Photoshop. So in order to import the photo in Photoshop, simply locate where your image is, right click and come to open with, and select the raw image that you want to edit with or to edit. So just come and select edit with Photoshop, and it's going to automatically open up the camera raw filter in Photoshop. So what we want to do first of all, we just want to correct the lighting and contrast issues regarding this very image. So I'll simply come to the highlights and take down the highlights of this image, and I'll do the same for the whites, just like that. So I'll just come and add contrast to the image by taking up the contrast slider and take the blacks down. And after doing that, I'll just come and open up the shadows of this very image. To open up the shadows or the details in the shadow areas of the image. So basically, after doing that, we don't have much to do when it comes to processing this image. So I'll just take the highlights down a little bit more and add just a tiny bit of contrast to around 12. So this is the image before, after. You can see we have gotten back information in the shot of our subject. So after doing that, we just come right and simply click on open to open the photo in Photoshop. So in Photoshop, the very first thing we want to do, if at all you want to change the orientation of this image from landscape to portrait, you can simply come and get the crop tool. So when you get the crop tool, it is going to activate the crop tool. So for this, I just go to choose a ratio of 45 or 8:10. So to change a ratio from this, you can either change it from landscape by using X on the keyboard. So for this, we just want the image to be in this kind of portrait. So after doing this, we are simply going to come and get the crop tool and simply drag the corners just like that, and just drag the corners up to when we feel like the subject is occupying the right area. So I'm just going to drag down just like that. So right now the subject is well filled up in the image. So just come to where you see fill and simply select content aware, and after doing that, simply hit enter or return, and Photoshop is going to do a pretty nice job trying to fill in the corners or the boundaries that were looking white. So it is going to fill in automatically the top area and the bottom area, so that it can also be or look like part of the image. So you can see it has done a pretty nice job, and where it has not done a nice job, we are going to be correcting that later on as the tutorial goes on. So we're going to come and correct those areas by simply coming and getting the patch tool. So with the patch tool selected, just zoom into the image by using Ctrl+ on the keyboard, or you can use Command+ on the keyboard, circle around a given area and drag that area to a clean area. So for this line, you can as well draw around it and drag it to another area to get rid of it, just like that. So basically, that is how we are going to be cleaning up these lines or the dirty areas. So always make sure you clean up most or majority of the dirty areas in the background or in the backdrop, so that you can save so much time after retouching and color grading your image. So just come and get rid of that line right there, and also circle here, and also try to eliminate that line. So I'm just going to circle and drag it away. So you can see right now we are now almost ready to go into the editing process. So this step is more of a preparation step, so don't mind about that. So to remove this remaining area, we are simply going to come and get our spot healing brush tool and just reduce on the size by using the bracket keys on the keyboard or the open and close brackets on the keyboard, and simply dab over those areas to get rid of a given spot and also get rid of that line right there. So after doing that, the next thing is going to be working on the image or doing the skin retouching on this very image. So in order to do skin retouching or to edit the skin and smoothen it out better, you're going to be using a technique known as frequency separation. And remember, frequency separation is a skin retouching technique that is going to help us smoothen the skin while retaining the original skin details. So it is going to get this very image and divide it into both the colors and the textures. So just come to this image layer or the background layer and press Ctrl J, or you can use Command J on the keyboard. So press Command J twice and simply double click, rename that to low frequency, and you're going to double click on this name and it is going to help us edit this to high frequency. So just name that to high frequency. The low frequency layer is going to be containing the colors in this image, and the high frequency layer is going to be containing the textures of this very image. So like we have mentioned, low is for color, high is for texture. So just come and select the low frequency layer and turn off the high frequency layer. So just come to filter, blur, and come to Gaussian blur, and it's going to open up the Gaussian blur dialog box right here. Click on the image and look for an area that has more skin textures. You can zoom in to identify the textures in the skin. So after doing that, simply take the radius slider up. So start taking up the radius slider. So you left click and drag while releasing the left click button to see the effect in real time. So for this, we just want to stop at the point whereby the details in the skin are just starting to disappear. So for this case, at around 4, that is when we are just starting to close out on the details in the skin. So depending on the image you may be working on, you always have to stop at the point whereby you are just starting to close out on the skin details in your image or in your photo. So just come and click OK. And as soon as you do that, you're going to notice that the image is going to be looking a little bit blurry. So don't mind about that. So just come and select the high frequency layer and now activate it. So this high frequency layer is going to be containing only the textures of this image. So after selecting it, simply come to image, come to apply image, and under apply image, just come to where you see layer and select low frequency layer or color layer. Then channel has to be RGB, the blending has to be add, scale is 2, offset 0, and make sure you turn on the invert option, and you'll see the textures on this gray like kind of layer, and click OK. And after doing that, just come the blend mode and change it from normal and change it all the way down to linear light to get back the image the way it was meant to look like. So after doing that, select both layers by pressing Ctrl, or you can use Command and press Command or Ctrl G. You can simply drag and drop them in this folder icon, put them in a group. So after grouping the layers, we are going to click on the drop down arrow right there and select the low frequency layer. And after selecting it, we want to smoothen the skin by blending the skin tone transitions. So in order to blend the skin tone transitions, we are simply going to come to the high frequency layer. Now simply come and turn it off or hide it. And after selecting the low frequency layer, we are simply going to come to the brushes, right click and get the mixer brush tool. Then if at all you want or you are not locating the mixer brush tool under the brushes, you can always come to these options right here and select the mixer brush tool, but mine is under the brushes, so always locate the mixer brush tool. So for whichever tool you select within Photoshop, the settings for that tool are always going to appear on top right here. So we have selected the mixer brush tool, and it's time to set it so that it can apply on the skin. So make sure clean brush is selected, and the second option that says clean the brush after each and every stroke has been selected, with a weight of 9%, load of 75%, mix at 90. So just put in these values, and flow at 100%. Make sure sample all layers is not turned on. And after doing that, we just want to come and start brushing on the skin to blend the skin tone or the transitions between the skin tone. So how to brush, zoom into the image slightly Remember, we have selected the color or the low frequency layer. Just zoom in slightly, don't zoom all the way in. So after doing that, what we want to do, we just want to blend the transitions between the skin. So to blend, we simply, if at all you want to increase or decrease on the size of the mixer brush tool, you can use the box bracket keys on the keyboard. And if at all the mixer brush tool is showing a plus icon, make sure you have pressed the caps lock key and it is deactivated. So just come and paint on the skin. So to paint, basically left click and hold down and you blend a given area. So just left click and hold down and blend a given area just like that. So left click and hold down and blend just like that. Left click and blend, left click and blend. So we are basically trying to mix colors that are looking alike in this very image so that we can create a smooth transition between the colors or the skin tones. So mix this highlight area alone, reduce on the size and mix the shadow area on the nose, and also mix this other side alone. So where the skin is, or the color is transitioning from one color to another, you use a small brush and blend that boundary to create a nice and even skin tone transition. So this is what we're going to be doing for the rest of the skin. And always, like I said, take your time as you're trying to blend or work on the skin. So we're going to come this other second hand and also blend the tones there. So to move around, hold down the space bar key and it's going to bring the hand tool, and you can move around by left clicking and dragging in the direction that you want to move. So just blend like that. So when it comes to this area, increase on the size and you blend, left click and blend. And after blending a given color, you can release the left click button and left click once again to blend on a brand new area. So this is how you can apply the brush tool or the mixer brush tool. So take your time. So I'm just going to do a very quick job right here because I don't want the tutorial to be a long one. So I'll come and blend just like that. Come this other leg and also blend. You can see I'm playing around with different sizes of the mixer brush tool depending on how big or the size of the skin tones that I want to work on in the image. So reduce on the size and also blend that area. So you can see by just doing this, we are having even and smooth skin tones. So I'll just come and blend the highlight alone, blend these mid-tones alone, and work on the skin area. So right now we are done working on the skin. So you can now come and turn on the high frequency layer and zoom out to see what we have been able to achieve. So this is the image before, after. The skin has been smoothened and now it is time to remove the pimples or skin blemishes. So just come to the high frequency layer and after selecting it, come and get the clone stamp tool and make sure hardness set to 0, the mode is set to normal, opacity and the flat 100%. Make sure align is selected and sample is set to current layer because we want to clean or clear out blemishes which are part of the currently selected layer in this case. So how to remove these blemishes? Zoom into the image by using Ctrl+ on the keyboard, and so for this step you have to zoom all the way in because we want to identify where the blemishes are and remove them. So reduce on the size of the clone stamp tool and make sure it is slightly bigger than the pimple or the blemish that you want to remove. So to remove these pimples, for example this one, hold down the option key on the keyboard for mark. For Windows it is alternate. So hold it down and left click on a clean area near the blemish and simply left click on the blemish after releasing the alternate key to press clean skin over the blemish, and in that way the blemish is going to be replaced by clean skin that you are copying and stamping over it. So that is how the clone stamp tool is going to be working when it comes to cleaning up or removing the pimples or blemishes or acne in your photos. So take your time as you're trying to do this because blemish remover is going to contribute a whole big percentage to your overall editing process. So zoom in and look for or identify the blemishes and clean them or clear them from your image. So right now we are done removing the blemishes from this image, and we are basically done with the skin retouching. So I'm just going to close this. This is the before after. So after cleaning on the skin, the next thing is going to be color grading. So in order to color grade, we are simply going to create a stamp visible layer by pressing for Windows it is Shift Alternate Control E on the keyboard. Then for Mac it is Shift Option Command E on the keyboard. Create a stamp visible layer, and after creating it, you are simply going to come and create a new empty layer. So just come to the new empty layer icon and create a new empty layer, and come to the blend mode and change it from normal and change it all the way down to color. And after that, come to the brushes, right click and get the normal brush tool, and make sure the hardness set to 0 and soft round brush has been selected with the mode set to normal, opacity and flat 100%. We just want to work on the skin tones or to create even skin tones. So in order to create even skin tones for this model or the subject in this case, we're just going to zoom in and look for an area on the skin that we want the rest of the skin to look like. So we're just going to sample from the first area because we want the makeup to resemble the rest of the body or skin color. So I'm going to sample. Make sure that the brush is showing this circular icon, and to sample the color from the skin, hold down the option key on the keyboard for Mac. Then for Windows it is alternate, and you look for a skin color that you want on the model's skin. So I'm just going to sample this color. It looks great. Alternate and left click to sample that color. So I'll sample that color, and after choosing that color, the next thing is going to be come to this layer that we created before and simply come to select and come to subject, and Photoshop is going to automatically select the subject for us. So let's just wait for it to do the job. So right now Photoshop has selected the subject for us, and the reason for this is because we just want to come and start painting on the skin. So just come back to our empty layer, and after doing that, with the brush tool still selected, we can now come and start painting on the skin. So I'm just going to increase on the size by using the bracket keys on the keyboard. The open and close brackets on the keyboard are going to increase or decrease on the size of the brush. So for this step, all we have to do is try and paint over the skin. So don't be careful not paint on the outfit, but if at all you paint on the outfit, I'll be showing you later on how you can easily correct the mistake if at all you accidentally painted over the skin or over some areas you did not want to paint in the first place. So we are done with the face. Just come and don't forget this hand right here. So don't paint on the nails, just paint on only and only the areas that have or contain skin. So come to this area and also paint on the wrist right there. Paint on the hand just like that. So you basically have to take your time with the painting process, and it takes time to master. So always be conversant and be careful when it comes to this step of painting on the skin. So basically what we are doing, we are using this technique to try and get uniform or even skin tones or an even skin color for our model or our subject in this case. So just come and paint just like that. Zoom in by using Ctrl plus and look for or identify the areas that you may have accidentally missed out during the painting process. So we have painted on most or majority of the areas, and now the skin looks better and it looks even, but we have done mistakes here and there. So next we just want to correct those mistakes and correct the colors in those areas. So just come and get a eraser tool and make sure it is set to So the eraser tool, the shortcut is E. Make sure the mode is set to brush, opacity in the flat 100%, and with the eraser tool, simply paint over the areas that you don't want to be affected by our color grading. So erase it from those areas, and also come and erase it right here. So you can see how nice the image is coming into place. So erase it from the shoe, these areas, just like that. Come this area and also erase it from the nails here, and erase it from the shoe. So always take your time with this step or this kind of process. So I'm just going to zoom out, command minus, to see if at all I have painted on each and every area that has skin, and press Ctrl D, or you can use command D to deselect the active selection. So after doing this, the next thing is going to be fine tuning the color in the skin area or the skin tones. So now fine tune the skin tones, because this looks a little bit overdone and it looks oversaturated. So to do this, simply come the opacity and take down the opacity or reduce on the opacity until when you feel like the skin is looking natural and realistic. So this is the image before color grading and after, before after. Now the skin looks nice and even, so you can increase on this once again. So if at all the skin is looking still oversaturated, you can simply come to the adjustments and come to hue and saturation and come to the reds and take down the lightness to your liking until when you feel like the skin looks better to you as the person editing or color grading. So I'm just going to leave it to -8. You can as well add contrast to a skin by coming and creating a black and white adjustment layer. Change the blend mode from normal to multiply, and simply come to the opacity and reduce on the opacity to around 4. 4 looks okay, it looks great. So if at all you feel like you still have more reds regarding the skin tones, you can create a color balance adjustment layer right here and come to the midtones and simply eliminate magentas from the midtones by adding more greens. So I feel like that is too much, so I'll just add a tiny bit of greens to around 2. Looks okay. Yeah, 2 looks great. So I'll just go with 2 or 1. Yeah, that looks great. So after you have done this, the next thing is going to be working on the image even more. So just come and create a selective color adjustment layer, and you're going to come to our blacks and simply come the cyans and take the blacks up just a tiny bit, around, I feel like around 1 or 2. 1 is okay. So after we have done that, you can as well match this background here to this foreground area. So how to do that? Just come once more to the selective color adjustment layer. So create one more selective color adjustment layer and come to whites. So you can see that this white area is having more of the yellows. So just come to colors and select whites and come to where you see yellows and take out the yellows from the image, just like that. It is going to make the background kind of match with the foreground of this very image, so you can see, and it's going to make her outfit whiter than it was before. But we have one issue right now, and that issue is basically changing, or we're having a change in this outfit or this attire. So in order to correct that, you are simply going to come and get the brush tool and make sure you have black and white on these 2 color swatches, and to reset, if at all you have any other random color on these color swatches, press D on the keyboard and it's going to reset it to black and white. So make sure black is the foreground color. Zoom into the image by using Ctrl plus, or you can use Command plus on the keyboard, and when that is done, we can now paint using our black brush. So remember, it is a soft round brush. So we are going to come and just paint on her skirt right there. You can now zoom in and make sure you have painted on each area that has this color that we don't want to be affected by the whiteness. Remember, it was desaturating this part of the model's outfit. So take your time as you're trying to remove colors, just like that. So right now we have been able to reach this step of editing this very image. So after doing this, you can as well come and make the image pop a little bit more. So in order to make this photo pop a little bit more, this is what we have to do. So we're going to come to the adjustments and create a levels adjustment layer right here. And after that is created, you can now hold down the option key on the keyboard or the alternate key on the keyboard and drag the black point up to when the blacks are just starting to show up, and come to the white point and also drag it up just like that. And by just doing this, you can say before and after, before, after. But this is a little bit too much, so always come to opacity and reduce on the opacity. So the other thing we can do, we can add a little bit of shine or glow to this image by coming to adjustments and simply create a curves adjustment layer. And after creating a curves adjustment layer, you're simply going to take the bright pointer towards the left hand side until when you feel like the highlights on the skin a little bit better or shining or glowing, but this doesn't look okay. So double click on this layer mask or this layer, and or you can simply right click on the layer and come to blending options, and it's going to open up the blend if or the layer style dialog box. So simply come to the underlying layer and make sure the blend is set to gray. Come and take the effect from the shadow areas of the image and stop at the point whereby only the highlights or the bright areas are affected. In this case, I'm just going to leave it at around there and hold down the option key on the keyboard or the alternate key on the keyboard and simply split this so that the effect can blend better and can be smooth in the image. And after doing that, click OK. Press Ctrl I with the white layer mask selected. Press Ctrl I, or you can use Command I to invert the effect. Get the brush tool. Make sure white is the foreground color. Opacity and the flat 100%. Zoom into the skin. And by this, using the brush tool, we are just going to paint on only the highlights of the model's skin. And in this way, it is going to be adding that nice, rich and beautiful skin glow on her skin. So I'm just going to come and paint on the areas that I feel should be having this nice and rich glow. So if at all the effect is too much, you can always come to the opacity right here and reduce on the opacity to your liking until when everything looks better and it looks natural to your liking. So this is what we have been able to achieve. So next thing, or lastly, regarding editing, we are simply going to come and whiten the eyes and teeth. So just come and create a hue and saturation adjustment layer and come, make sure master is selected and come to saturation and take out the saturation. So what this is going to do, is going to desaturate all the random colors that were part of eyes and teeth or the white area of the teeth. And we have used -74 and press Ctrl I, or you can use Command I on the keyboard to invert the effect. So with the brush tool selected, make sure white is the foreground color. Zoom into the image by using Ctrl plus, or you can use Command plus on the keyboard to zoom in. Reduce on the size of the brush by using the box bracket keys on the keyboard, and simply with a white brush we are painting on a black mask. Remember, white is going to reveal and black is going to hide, so we are whitening the eyes using our brush tool or the white brush to create that kind of white eyes and teeth for this very model. So right now we are done whitening the teeth, and as usual, if at all the effect is too much, always calm the opacity and reduce on the opacity to your liking. So one last thing that we can do for this image is, first of all, analyzing it and finding if at all we have any wrinkles in the background. So what we have to do, we are going to create a stamp visible layer by pressing Shift Option Command E on the keyboard. For Mac, for Windows, it is Shift Alternate Control E on the keyboard, and come and get our mixer brush tool with the same settings we use for frequency separation. Make sure it is a clean brush. So what we want to do, for every area that has wrinkles, we are simply going to come and paint on those areas that we feel have wrinkles in the background, just like that. Paint on those areas to create a nice and seamless image. So I'm just going to come and paint on those particular areas. So right now we are done editing this very image, and if I'm to show you what you have been able to do in this nice and beautiful lesson, you are going to be amazed by the results that we have been able to achieve. So let me show you a quick before and after for editing this very image in Photoshop. So this is the image before, after, before, after, before, and after. So this is how you can easily edit an image in Photoshop from the start to the very end. And in order to save the image, simply come right here to File, Export, and come to Export As. And it's going to open up the Export As dialog box in Photoshop. And make sure you set the format to JPEG, and make sure the quality is set to 100%, and resample is set to by cubic sharper, and make sure you check the two options, that is under color space, convert sRGB, and also embed color profile. Make sure these two are checked, and you can simply come and hit export to save or export that image in whatever location that you want, and hit save. So this is how I can easily edit a photo in Photoshop from the very start to the very end. And if at all you have enjoyed this, simply like this video, and don't forget to subscribe if at all you have been watching and you're not yet subscribed to this channel. Ronix from Ronix Photography. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in yet more videos on this channel. And don't forget to keep practicing and also keep creating.